Hi, I'm Eleni, here with another triad involved in human-centric leading. So let's look at the triads from two different parties. We're going to take an example of one of my former clients. This is the boss, so to speak, the leader of the team, and this is the team. And I will only use one triad to reflect the whole team because it felt like they had the same thinking and the same way of feeling and the same behaving. So we can represent that on one triad, even though we know there are other, parts of this that we're not exploring at this time. So what the boss was doing, she was confident and open, and she was thinking she's doing her best. She works within a very hierarchical environment that's slow, that's bureaucratic, that's political, that has tight budget, all the constraints that many companies or organizations go through. And what she was doing is she was asking for raises for her team when there was a new CFO or the HR people. She was always going to get better things for her team members. She was very busy reacting to fires, but she was also expecting her team to do their best because she was doing her best, and she expected that if she was, absorbing a lot of the political or CJB, which is criticism, judgment, and blame from others, she was kind of absorbing that so that the team members wouldn't have to experience that. So then she expected them to do their best and to be able to function well within the safe environment she was trying to create. And she was, one interesting thing that she was doing is she was working on, let's say, asking for raises without telling anyone, because she didn't want to disappoint them and saying, like, I'm asking for raises and I'm waiting for the process. I sent in the paperwork. It's been 3 months. I get no answer. She felt like that wasn't positive, information to give her team, so she withheld that. Okay. Hence, we go to the team. The team says, she gets a raise, but we don't. Her raise, though, is dependent on her boss, not on her. But her team members are thinking, she gets the best from this environment. She expects the best from us, but only gives us peanuts, and she looks out for herself. She's very demanding, and she doesn't really care about us, and we're really frustrated. We're here, we can hardly do our work well. We have constraints and pushback from every part of the organization, and she doesn't help us a lot at all. She doesn't block any of this. They felt frustrated and angry, even resentful, and very, very disappointed. And it put them in a state of defensiveness. They defended themselves, they avoided discussion, they were judgmental, they were critical, they were closed, they were talking to each other, so there was kind of subgroups being created, which broke apart further the team culture. And so when I went into this group, I saw these dramatically different triads, saying, what's going on here? How could this person who's open and confident, who says she's absolutely willing to listen to anyone, she's absolutely willing to be open, and then this group seeing her as very closed and as very self-centered. So when we dug into it, and I'll use a different pen to outline how things change between us. Now this person, the boss, she was demanding. She said, okay, I really protect you from a lot of criticism, judgment, and blame that I absorb from my boss and all the people maybe at the C-suite level, so you, team, don't have to experience it. So she's saying, so I expect more. I expect no errors. I expect collaboration. I expect you deal with things without escalating. I expect that. So then when she was expecting, that's what she was expecting. And then she was getting a lot of escalations, so people here were escalating. They were not communicating with each other, which made their interaction less and less effective. They might talk within friends and have little cliques, but as a team, they were avoiding, they were detracting, they were judging and criticizing and blaming, and they weren't, and so that with every problem, they would revert it to the boss and say, you deal with it, we can't. And then with her expectation, she would start saying, but why can't you? You're skilled, you're capable, what's going on? And she would then become frustrated. And then angry. Like, I'm doing my best here, and all you can do is complain and escalate. I'll add that to the list because they were complaining. So there was becoming a cycle of anger, resentment, and, you know, extreme amount of sadness and frustration. And so what happened here is when I would go in and say, okay, I asked each party things separately. I said, okay, what are you thinking? And that's how I came up with this triad. And then I went to them, and that's how I came up with this triad. And then I said, okay, so I realized these people don't know what their boss is doing. They don't know how much she absorbs. They may still be criticized, judged, and blamed by others, but they don't know what volume she buffers for them. They don't know that she's asking for team raises. They don't know she's going through that process. The fact that she got a raise is not up to her. It's about her boss and her boss's ability to work the system and get the raise amidst a very constrained financial environment. So they were seeing things that weren't there because of how they felt and what they were thinking and how they were behaving, which was creating a loop for them of more frustration and more anger. And even when I worked and I was faced with this team, they were all like, they didn't want to talk to me. They didn't want to be part of this initiative. They didn't want to trust that anything could happen. And slowly I asked them just to not trust me, basically, to just watch what I would do, to listen to how I would speak instead of, you know, assume that I'm a double agent working for the boss trying to spy on the staff. That's what they assumed. That's how tense the relationship between the team and the boss became. And I just asked them to keep their minds open and just watch instead of judge initially.